Have you ever planned the perfect getaway, only to find out your toxic mother-in-law secretly booked a 4-week stay at your home? Without telling you. In today's Just No Mil podcast, we uncover a jaw-dropping family betrayal that turns into the ultimate true revenge story. What would you do? Have you ever noticed how some toxic family members seem to think the rules don't apply to them? Like, no matter how clearly you set your boundaries, they find a way to sneak around them, literally or emotionally. This story is a perfect example of that, and today we're diving deep into a crazy mill story that had our listeners' jaw on the floor. So, here's how it all started. Our storyteller, let's call her Anna, wanted to do something special for her husband. They've been juggling work, stress, and, of course, the occasional husband-mom drama, so she decided to plan a surprise getaway. Just the two of them. No phones, no stress, no drama. The kind of escape most of us dream of, right? But like most Reddit stories, mother-in-law fans already suspect, things didn't go as planned. Anna's husband, just making small talk with his sister, who we'll call Rachel, mentions the upcoming surprise trip. No destination details, of course, just the date. That's when Rachel's reaction throws a wrench into everything. She goes, "Wait, isn't that when Mom's coming to visit?" That's the moment everything unravels. Now, if this were any other mother-in-law, maybe it'd be a simple miscommunication. But in this narcissistic mother-in-law case, oh no, she'd already told Rachel she was flying in the day after the trip starts, weeks ago, without saying a word to Anna or her husband. And that's the thing with some toxic mother-in-law types. They believe family means access, permanent, unquestioned access. Of course, when confronted, Mill tries to play it cool, says she only just found some great travel deals, totally coincidental, and hadn't had a chance to call yet. Sound familiar? It's the classic, "Oops, I forgot to tell you, but I'm coming anyway," routine we hear so often in these wife-first mother-in-law stories. But here's where it gets interesting. Anna doesn't panic. Instead, she flips the script. When Mill texts her asking where the trip is, Anna responds with a playful but strategic lie. "We're going to a massive theme park." Why? Because she knows her Mill hates theme parks, like viscerally. And Anna even adds, "Don't tell my husband, it's a surprise." This small move? It's genius. It's one of those moments that tip the scale in true revenge stories, even though it's subtle. It's not about being mean, it's about reclaiming control in the face of a woman who repeatedly bulldozes boundaries. But here's what I keep thinking. What would have happened if Anna hadn't found out in time? What if they left for their trip and Mill just showed up? Stayed for 4 weeks in their home without permission? Because let's be honest, we've seen that kind of toxic family Reddit thread before. So let me ask you this. If someone made a spare key to your home without telling you, planned a month-long stay behind your back and then lied about it, would you ever let them back in? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever dealt with a narcissistic MIL who saw your boundaries as just suggestions? Here's a question for you. What do you do when someone you've said no to decides your no doesn't matter? When they cross a line, not by accident, but by planning around your boundaries? On purpose? That's exactly what happened next in this Just No Mil podcast tale. After the little theme park lie, Anna told her toxic mother-in-law, to throw her off. The situation didn't cool down. It got weirder, because later that day, MIL calls Anna's husband again. This time, her tone is more casual, but with a hint of calculation. She asks, "So, how long are you two going to be gone?" Now, if you've listened to enough crazy MIL stories, you know that question rarely comes without an agenda. Anna's husband pauses, smart move, and replies with a question of his own. "Why do you want to know?" Boom. The real motive surfaces. MIL casually admits that she already booked her flight. Not just for a few days, not even for a week, but for 4 weeks. A full month. Her plan? To stay at their house alone while they're gone. You can almost hear the collective gasp from every relationship drama podcast listener right now. She says it like it's no big deal. "I figured I'd just stay until you get back." No offer to help, no permission asked, just entitlement. But here's the kicker. When her son tells her absolutely not, that she doesn't even have a key, she calmly reveals she made a copy. Yup. On a past visit, she secretly duplicated the house key, just in case of an emergency. Now let's pause. In what universe is that okay? What kind of narcissistic mother-in-law creates her own back door into someone else's marriage? Literally? That's more than toxic. That's invasive, manipulative, and honestly, it's a betrayal. Luckily, Anna and her husband were already ahead of her. Without even needing to fake a lost key, they changed the lock barrels. And just like that, the unwanted visit was shut down, physically and emotionally. But things didn't end there. Miscommunication tried to twist the narrative. She accused Anna's sister-in-law, Rachel, of lying about what she said. Why? To save face, to avoid being held accountable. But Anna's husband wasn't having it. He threatened to add Rachel to the call and confront the lie head-on. That's when Miscommunication lost it. The voice raised, the guilt-tripping began, and the infamous, "You never let me come," line got thrown in. Sound familiar? If you've spent time in the toxic family Reddit space, you know that guilt is the currency of manipulators. And when control slips, in the end, Miscommunication hung up with a sarcastic, "Enjoy your fucking roller coasters," not knowing the theme park wasn't even real. The whole story was bait, and she fell for it. But here's the question I keep circling back to. When someone violates your trust that deeply, sneaking a key, lying about plans, shifting blame, can you ever let them back in? Let me know in the comments. Have you ever had to go full lock change mode to protect your peace from a toxic mother-in-law? Here's something to think about. When someone disrespects your home, your marriage, and your boundaries, what does it take for you to finally say, "Enough is enough"? That's where Anna and her husband found themselves. And honestly, this next part of the story shows just how powerful it can be when a couple presents a united front, especially when dealing with a toxic mother-in-law. So, after Miscommunication's dramatic exit from the phone call, complete with that sarcastic, "Enjoy your fucking roller coasters" line, Anna and her husband took a breath. And what happened next wasn't explosive. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, intentional, and solid. Anna showed her husband the text Miscommunication had sent her, the one where she pretended not to know about the trip, and asked where they were going. That one. He read it, processed it, and just nodded. It confirmed everything he already suspected. And here's the part that might surprise people who follow a lot of wife versus mother-in-law stories or relationship drama podcasts. He didn't defend his mom. He didn't make excuses. He didn't try to keep the peace. Instead, he took a stand. He said, clearly and calmly, "She's not coming. I don't care what tickets she bought. I don't care what story she told. She's not welcome." And that, my friends, is how you set a boundary, with love, but with firmness. And it's something we don't always see in toxic family Reddit threads, right? Sometimes partners stay silent. Sometimes they enable. But in this case, he went full scorched earth. Now, for those of us who've had to deal with manipulative in-laws or have listened to enough Just No Mill podcast episodes to know the patterns, we know that this kind of confrontation is rare. But it's also incredibly healing, because what Anna's husband did in that moment wasn't just about the key or the visit. It was about trust. He showed Anna that she and their life together came first. Not guilt, not obligation, not manipulation disguised as family. And let's not forget, this whole saga began with a simple surprise trip, something joyful, something meant to bring closeness. But when a narcissistic mother-in-law senses joy that doesn't include her, she makes it about her. She crashes the moment. She tries to center herself in a story that was never hers to begin with. So, here's the big takeaway I want to offer today. When you finally say no more to a toxic family member, but now I want to hear from you. Have you ever reached that turning point where you realize protecting your boundaries meant cutting someone off, even if they were family? Was it worth it? Listen, drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about those true revenge stories, the ones where peace wins over chaos. Here's a question that hits close to home for a lot of people. What happens when you finally set a boundary with a toxic family member and they actually listen? Or worse, pretend to? That's the space Anna and her husband stepped into after everything hit the fan. The fake theme park, the hidden key, the 4-week surprise stay, all of that chaos had come to a boiling point. And after her husband firmly told his toxic mother-in-law she was not welcome, there was silence. But if you're familiar with Crazy Miles stories, you know that silence doesn't always mean peace. Sometimes, it's just the calm before the next storm. For a few days, Anna and her husband enjoyed a rare moment of quiet. No texts, no passive-aggressive voicemails, no guilt-tripping apologies or misunderstood intentions. It was suspicious. Anna admitted she didn't trust it, and really, who could blame her? If you followed enough toxic family Reddit threads, you know the playbook. First the denial, then the guilt, then the fake reconciliation, usually ending with a rug sweep and a "let's move on" that skips all accountability. So, Anna and her husband took precautions. They confirmed the lock changes, later. They let their trusted neighbor know no one should be at the house, Dea. They even left lights on timers. As Anna said, if she's going to show up anyway, at least the house won't look empty. That's the part many people overlook when listening to relationship drama podcasts, the emotional labor involved in protecting your home from your own family. It's not just about telling someone no. It's about anticipating their next move. It's exhausting, it's heavy, and yet it's necessary. And here's something that really stood out to me. Anna wasn't angry. She was tired, not resentful, just done. There's a big difference. When a narcissistic mother-in-law oversteps again and again, it chips away at your energy, not just your patience. And eventually, you stop reacting with rage and start responding with clarity. Anna and her husband left for their trip with peace of mind, not because they trusted Mile to do the right thing, but because they had taken full control of the situation. They were no longer playing defense, they had moved on to offense, quietly, calmly, and decisively. And you know what? That kind of true revenge story isn't loud. It doesn't have to be. Sometimes, the best revenge is living your life without their interference. So here's the question I want to leave you with today. When you finally protect yourself from a toxic mother-in-law and they go quiet, do you let your guard down or do you stay one step ahead? Let's talk about it in the comments. Share your stories, your strategies, and how you found peace in the aftermath. Because sometimes the silence is the message. Let me ask you this. When someone who's crossed your boundaries goes quiet, do you really believe it's over? That was the final question on Anna's mind as she and her husband packed their bags and headed out the door. After days of silence from his toxic mother-in-law, no sudden texts, no surprise calls, no just checking in moments, it almost felt too good to be true. And if you've been following Crazy Mills stories or reading through toxic family Reddit threads, you probably know what came next. But this time, nothing did. No break-in, no dramatic airport appearance, no 4-week uninvited stay, just quiet. For the first time in a long while, Anna and her husband finally got to enjoy what they had originally planned: peace, space, and each other. A moment of real connection, without guilt, without husband-mom drama hijacking the joy. And you know what? That might be the biggest twist in this whole storytime with twist. Sometimes, the villain doesn't show up. Sometimes, when you hold your ground, people back off, even if just temporarily, and that, in itself, is a win. But here's what I found so powerful about the way Anna and her husband handled everything. They didn't escalate. They didn't feed the drama. They didn't leave the door open for manipulation. Instead, they created clarity and reinforced it with action. Changing the locks wasn't petty. It was protective. Saying, "You are not welcome this time," wasn't cruel. It was necessary. That's something I think we don't say enough in wife versus mother-in-law stories. Protecting your marriage shouldn't feel like betrayal, it should feel like freedom. And while Mill might have gone quiet this round, we all know silence doesn't mean surrender, especially when you're dealing with a narcissistic mother-in-law. Anna knows this, her husband knows this. And now? They're ready, just in case. Because here's the truth, real boundaries don't just protect your space, they protect your sanity. And before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something simple. If you've ever had to change your locks, cancel a surprise, or say no to family because they refuse to respect you, leave a koef in the comments. If you've ever had a moment of peace after cutting off toxic ties, leave a kelef. And if you think Anna and her husband handled this like total pros, drop a pad to show them some love. This has been another deep dive into Just Normal podcast territory, where the drama's real, the revenge is quiet, and the lessons hit home. Thanks for spending time with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who really needs to hear it. And as always, protect your peace. See you in the next episode.